I'm here with Dr. Andre Rogers, Professor of Church Ministries, Director of the Doctor in Ministerial Leadership Program, and Special Assistant to the President. Dr. Rogers, what is your process for developing leaders as pastors?
Well, I think of it like this, like a science teacher. I like to lecture and I like to give them all the head knowledge that they possibly can have. Then after I lecture, I put them in the laboratory and let them work out what they've been hearing in terms of lectures and see does it match in the laboratory, does it match the lectures. And when I was in high school, I took chemistry. And shortly after we had our lectures in chemistry, we went to the chemistry lab. Or I took biology and the same thing would occur. We'd go to the biology lab and we dissect frogs and stuff like that to see if what we were talking about in terms of lectures were really real. I think that's best when it comes to leadership. Jesus modeled this for us so many times with his disciples. He put them in the learning center during the day, laboratory in the evening. One text that's coming to my mind pretty clearly is Mark chapter 4, where he had them in the learning center all day, teaching them that faith, the size of a mustard seed. Where later on that evening, he tells his disciples, let us go to the other side. So as they were crossing to the other side, all of a sudden they show up in the laboratory where the rain, the storm came, the winds were blowing, the boat was frightened, they were frightened, everyone else was on the boat was frightened, the little boats in the water was frightened, but Jesus is in the stern part of the ship catching a nap. And finally they woke Jesus up, carest not that we perish. And of course Jesus says, why are you afraid? Where is your faith? Because Jesus realized that he had them in the learning center all day, the lecture hall all day, but it's time for the laboratory in the evening. Some men and some women fail when they get to the laboratory because they don't connect the laboratory lesson to the lecture. But that gives us a chance to work out those kinks. For some, it may be 6 months to a year. For some, it may be a year to 5 years. But it gives us a chance to keep on putting them in real life situations until they figure out their leadership style, their giftedness, and their talent as it relates to leadership.
That's good. Yeah, that's a really good analogy. I remember when I was doing my Master of Divinity degree, and I took some leadership classes and church administration classes, and the gap between then and when I actually got to put those into practice was so large, the teaching became a little less effective. But if we get the teaching and you get them involved in ministry, then it's going to connect a lot faster and they can really understand the nuances of what you were teaching. Yeah, that's good.
One thing we try to do here at CIU in terms of our educational process is we make sure that the classes that they're taking are building blocks, especially in the Ministerial Leadership Program or the MDiv or MA in Ministerial Leadership. We make sure there's a building block that leads in a perfect sequence to internship so that they can ask those hard questions. So they're in the lecture hall over here, the laboratory over here, and which the lecture hall does lead them straight to the laboratory, and they're able to work out those kinks, and they're able to have some real on-the-job training as it relates to their program. And I think that's the beauty of studying here at CIU. They really get hands-on as quickly as possible. If you're in the MA program, within the first 18 months. If you're in the MDiv program, within the first 2.5 years. You get real hands-on training as it relates to your ministry and where your leadership can go.
So those are the programs you would recommend if someone wanted to be a pastor?
Of course. But we also have pastoral care. We also have pastoral counseling classes. You can build into that degree whatever you need in terms of your niche as it relates to ministry.
And if they already have an MDiv?
If they have an MDiv, we have the PhD program where they can definitely become a scholar in the pulpit. They have a DML program where they can become a practitioner in the pulpit. In terms of their leadership style, in terms of being a denominational leader. We have lots of doctoral programs here at CIU that can help them fit their niche or take their niche to the next level.
Okay, great. That's helpful. Thank you.